Jennifer, welcome back to the podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Now it's like in real life.
I know.
Yeah.
Real life.
Last time we were just talking about how Zoom really doesn't translate. Being in person is so much better.
It really is. It's so nice to see you in real life.
Yeah. Last time I saw you was at the Loverly List event.
Yes.
Because NST Pictures is one of the Loverly best.
So honored.
Yeah, well,
so excited.
You guys are incredible.
Thank you. It's always insane to be recognized, and then to be recognized on such a big scale as Loverly. It's like amazing.
Now you're making us blush.
Thank you. Yeah.
So tell us just a little bit about the business, how long you guys have been around for, what exactly you guys do.
Yeah. So we have been doing our thing for the last 13 years, which is crazy to say, but we are 13 years strong, doing mostly wedding cinematography, great wedding films. We're doing a little bit of corporate stuff, trying to venture out. Yeah, we're just doing our thing, tri-state area, world, international, if they'll have us.
How many weddings are you doing a year?
Under 200, probably like 175 when all things said and done.
That's a lot of weddings.
That's a lot.
So how many people are on the team filming these weddings?
So we've got about 15 cinematographers, beautiful, great talent, been with us for many years. And then I have my core team in-house that are doing the client relations, the production. It's probably more than like 20 people, but yeah, going out there and filming about 15 great talents.
So you said cinematography.
Yes.
Most people would think wedding videographer. Mm-hmm. Is it triggering when someone calls you a videographer? Is that like a downgrade of what you do?
No, not at all. Because it is such a learning curve in the wedding space, especially as a, couple getting married, that we do both interchangeable, and we are not one term defines us. So if someone says video, okay, we call ourselves videographers sometimes it's cinematography. We're just meeting people where they are. In what
I just didn't know if it was like a derogative thing, like you're a videographer versus like a cinematographer.
No. For us, we are all good. No trigger there.
I just saw a recent survey that came out. I think it was a 2023 survey, so a little bit, not the most up to date, but it said only 39% of couples are hiring wedding videographers.
Yeah.
Is that shocking to you?
It does shock me, because you can go ahead and read other statistics that the post-wedding survey, when they're like, what do you most regret, is not having video is like the number one.
I've heard that as well. That's like the biggest regret they have.
We're not instant gratification. And when you're planning and you're going to be there day of, it's all about the day of. We're kind of for the future self, like you're booking us for the future self and the memories along the line. So I'm not surprised. You really got to think about your future self when you book video.
That's such a good point, because when you're wedding planning, you're always thinking about what's going to drive the most aesthetic, what's going to be the most shareable, what's going to, create the most visual impact. Yeah. And the video really is to capture everything, and not in the same way that the photos do.
Guest experience at your wedding, of course, it's everything. You want people to enjoy the food, the band. I think also weddings people don't want to get nuts. You don't want to feel like, I'm getting out of control.
Like I'm going overboard, on budget, or all these things.
Yeah. And I think that's sort of comes into play. Well, I have photography, so that's enough. Mm-hmm. But there is something to be said about hearing and seeing all those great things that you planned for. Mm-hmm. People go on vacation. How many videos do you have of vacation? Like it's those moments you want to live back that you won't have back. So you're planning and planning and planning. The best thing you can do is to have that photo video complement and to have those memories in like a 360 feel. We kind of know that that's sort of the case, that 36 or 39%. But I think truly it's one of those things like you got to push yourself to do it. And once you do it, you're going to be so happy you did it in the end and have all those great memories.
Why do you think that couples deprioritize video?
People don't want to feel like they've gone out of control. Like they are
budget wise.
Yeah. Or just being like maybe full of themselves. Like there's just some, there's something icky maybe about the idea of like, oh, we're going to do this and that, doing both. And you're feeling a little bit like it's getting extravagant. And I can understand that point. But at the end of the day, you're putting on this big event. How many times do you really have a day for yourself?
It's so interesting, right? We've never in any other moment in our life do we have like a film crew following us around, right? So it's not a natural thing.
Right.
Maybe unless you're an influencer, content creator, or like, you know, an actor, right?
Yeah.
You're not used to having cameras on you. So that makes sense that maybe some people like either they're shy or they think it's too much.
Exactly. And I think it's, you know, none of our clients are actors and models. Mm-hmm. You know, these are all normal people. So when you see these videos, you're like, how can this be? This can't be me. Mm-hmm. But it is. Mm-hmm. And it will be you because you're going to be so in the moment and you're going to be so happy you have it. Photo is beautiful. You can do really great, beautiful, creative work with photo, but there's nothing like, how great is to then take that moment and then see the movement? I mean, how much do you love a live photo? You know, like you tap down, you see that extra piece of movement.
That extra 4 seconds, that really.
Right. Yeah. But you see so much of a laughter or a specific moment. I think that's why video is such a beautiful balance and complement to photography because you just have this a little bit more at the end of the day. So for the couples that prioritize it, they understand that. Mm-hmm. I think for the other couples feeling that they need to stay on budget. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where like your future self will be so happy you did it. Your kids or your family as they get older, when they, you know, let's pop in, you know, it's digital. Let's go, download your wedding film and watch it on holidays. Like everyone gets to see themselves back in like the most precious moments and having that great speech, listening to your, you know, a parent or, you know, a parental figure or someone that officiated your wedding. I feel like it's always going to be your future self that's going to love it more. Buy it for her. Buy it for him, you know?
Well, video is such a powerful medium for storytelling and emotions, right?
Yes.
You can really feel emotions. And it's such a good point that it's, you know, not for the now. It's for the future. It's for your kids. It's to capture the moments where, you know, maybe a loved one's no longer here, right? And 10, 15 years down the line to be able to rewatch is it's really special.
Yes. It always means a lot too when a couple's on the phone and they talk about their parents' video. And like, they're the ones that are like, I watched my parents' video, like, as a kid, we burnt out the tape, you know, like.
Well, isn't it so wild how videos like in the 80s and even like the late 90s, how like low grade and low quality they were?
Soft filters. Yeah.
It's wild.
It's wild. They've come a long way. And I think they're sort of built for the now where we're consuming, you know, smaller doses and we're able to tell impactful stories in a shorter period of time where you don't have to drag it out and, you know, it doesn't have to be long and boring. It could be fun and impactful to a great song. Like those are all fun things that we all look for. Yeah. Like our clients that come back or come like, we loved our, you know, the wedding film was everything. My parents' film, you know, things like that is so great.
Do the cameras matter? I mean, obviously the tools that you use are important, but like, what are the standard like film equipment that you're using? I know a lot of people are using drones now to get those overhead shots.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely use drones. I mean, drone is always a great opportunity to like tell the story at a different perspective. Adds that element of a Hollywood movie where like you see the opening shot of like the New York City skyline. Like, you know, you're starting a movie where it starts, you get these big picture moments. So drone is great for that. Equipment definitely matters. Like making sure we're 4K and higher. That way we're compatible for, you know, the longevity of your film.
I mean, if they're filming for like 8 hours, are these like big cameras, small cameras?
No, they look like a lot like what your photographer is holding or what their photographer is holding, but maybe have some sound equipment, a microphone on top for, you know, ceremony. You might maybe a light for a reception. So it's a little bit extra, like a stick or a monopod to kind of keep that stability. So like it's the photographer's their camera with like a little extra attachment. So really simple in a lot of ways.
And like how big is a normal crew for your day? Like if someone's coming to you and is buying like a basic package, like is it 2 people?
So we do have one. So we can do a beautiful day with one cinematographer, but that's more like a half day. Most cases we have 2 cinematographers go out and they'll be like a full day, 8, 10, 12 hours.
You also mentioned, that it's not instant gratification.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's because of the editing time.
Yes.
Right? Because they're recording, you just said 10, sometimes 12 hours of footage.
Yeah.
How long does it take to edit it down to like a 3-minute
So
sizzle or like 15-minute video?
Yeah. I mean, we call them trailer films for us. And that takes about 6 to 8 weeks. That way we're just giving each client the opportunity with the editor to really like digest all the footage, really narrow down and listen to all the audio pieces, and then be able to kind of start to formulate the story. And we like to take that little bit of time in order to like make sure it looks really great from the get-go. But we are doing a shorter edit. So we know social media, wanting it back right away. So we do like a shorter social, what we call like a sneak peek, about 2 weeks, within 2 weeks of the wedding. So something short, a glimpse, a taste in 2 weeks. And then they'll get their next piece in like 6 to 8 weeks.
So I was going to ask that question. How has kind of the content creator, the Instagram, TikTok, Reels, how has that impacted kind of the sales process and also what people expect, like expectations?
Definitely, we understand like there's something immediate when a content creator is going out there with their phone. And I mean, we know how to, you can edit right in your phone and you have a reel made of, dinner from last night done. So we know we're sort of up against that. In that, the sneak peek in that 2 weeks is like giving us enough time to take all of our footage. Again, look at everything in a little quicker way, and then be able to pull a nice sort of a glimpse, a little bit of a taste versus trying to tell the bigger story. So we were doing it quicker. Yes. The content creators definitely put a little fire in us to kind of get something out the door right away. Do you think that content creators are competing with wedding videographers to some extent, or is it a completely different customer and experience that they're looking for? It's a bit conflicting because in the big scheme, you do kind of feel like, well, I can just have this person that could do content creation. I've got my video covered. That's a lot of pressure for a content creator, maybe inexperienced, who knows, to take care of your vows and things like that. So I do think that there's a separation. It does, I think, take a little bit more of understanding what the client wants at the end of the day. Is having your ceremony and making sure we're getting these big moments important, then you're going to want to do the video route. And image quality is not quite the same too. I mean, phone versus something with, a huge, beautiful camera that you make commercials on. What are we looking for? So to be honest, I feel like it's a weird space, but I do think the content creators are understanding the gravity of what they would be responsible for. And I think they're sort of helping the videographers of the world to be like, I'm not your video person. So make sure you have video, ensure that I'm there. Like, they're kind of supporting us a bit more.
Yeah. And then on the flip side, you're making it clear, like, we're not the content creators. We're not making like your trendy, like TikTok reels. Right.
Exactly. So I think that's an understanding where we're doing the style in which you hired us for. And that's creating you're going to get that, sneak peek, but in a way that like what you've seen on our website. Like, it's not going to be a new trend where maybe you want that trend, the content creator to create those like fun Instagrammable moments.
Like outfit changes, right? And like the Beyonce songs.
Exactly. Like the song, like the little heart sunnies that everyone wears, like those great little moments is perfect for a content creator.
On a wedding day, when there's a photography team, a video team, and a content creation team, how do you orchestrate that and navigate that? That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. I think for us, how we handle that, just beyond content creator, which is sort of a new thing, we've always let the photographer really take the lead of like those moments, the prep and sort of photo session and editorial stuff, just because it's still photography and we can work around them. Add the content creator. And again, I think they are sort of understanding the dynamic where they even take a step back from us. So I think everyone finds their lane. And I think when a couple is bringing on a content creator, they kind of know what they're what they're going to be in for, because everyone's doing a little something different. So,
yeah, we had Stacy from BTS Bride who like is a content creator, and she said she's like, we pull people aside for certain moments, and they have to manage expectations as well with the bride to be like, hey, like you can't do 15 of these trends. Like we can do 3 of them. Right. We're not trying to pull away from your actual wedding day. Right. Because I mean, I can just imagine how long it takes me to make a reel or it's a lot of time. It is. And you're on a schedule. You're trying to get to your actual wedding ceremony and your reception. Right. You still have the event to do. Like you're still wanting to have these real authentic moments at your own wedding. So yeah, I think you really have to be into it to really want it. And I know it's very popular. It's prioritizing. And I think the couple really needs to plan for that. Because yes, you're going to be pulled. For us, we're much more documenting these moments. We're not trying to produce a moment. You're more like a step back, observing, capturing versus producing, staging. Staging, yeah. Like taking you out of the ceremony to do a TikTok thing. You have to be up for it. And, and it's okay if you're up for it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm so curious about budget. Because, we're in New York City, right? Tri-state area is kind of where you guys mostly service. Obviously, you mentioned that you guys have Rhode Island and other locations. When you are talking to couples who are coming in to hire you, do they have a budget in mind already? Like, do they have an allocated dollar amount or do you have to educate them and explain to them how much it costs? You know what? That's an interesting question. It would depend. So for us, we really have transparent pricing. We have a starting rate on our website. We give you pricing right at the... I feel like that's controversial. A lot of vendors don't love to do that. It is. You know what? We just found as we, again, going back to that statistic of not having 36, % of couples choosing to have video. There's an education of understanding pricing right off at the beginning to see if that's the value in which, you value the video for your level of wedding. Like, do you want to spend the money on video knowing how much it costs is even like a big important part of that? It's a big important part. And I think in terms of video, it's certainly all over the place. We always say you want to budget the same amount you budget for your photographer or, within that same ballpark. We'll make sure you have the same level caliber walking away with these deliverables. For us to kind of start off the bat with showing our price for them to really evaluate if this is like the right something worth pursuing. I mean, clearly if you're doing, around 200 weddings a year, booking couples is not really a problem for you guys. So it may be managing inquiries of people who aren't a fit is maybe more of a time saver than getting on a call so they can ask you how much do you cost. Right. And I think I think again, with video being sort of not necessarily like, you understand images, photography, hours. Video is a little bit more nuanced. It's like, okay, what's a trailer film? Like the other person called it a highlight. Is that the same thing? So we really try to be as transparent with our service in terms of what those services mean, and putting out pricing just kind of starts the conversation with like, I'm laying it all on the table for you. And at least we can meet here, because I can get on the phone with somebody and it's controversial. Is it a good venue? Like there's a lot of things that go into even someone choosing a couple. So we try to. So what do you mean? So when a couple calls you, you're evaluating like, is the venue legit? Is the team legit? Other companies may do that, where for us, we're a little bit more, we're much more transparent in that case, where we're putting it all out there for them. Are there some venues that you won't work at? No. We'll work anywhere. Okay. I didn't know. I was like, is there something that we need to know? No dirt here. We will go anywhere a couple wants. Yeah. Another thing when it comes to budget and that process is like the payment schedule. Like, I think that's something that I always hear brides complaining about on social, is how vendors have such complicated payments, like deposit and then like 2 months before and then 6 months before and then day of and after. Like how do you guys handle it? And what do you think is a normal way to pay and way to bill? Well,
We do two. So like at the time of booking, you put, your deposit down and then
to hold your date.
To hold the date.
Yeah.
And then we do the rest 2 weeks before. So 2 payments, we even take credit card. Not a lot of people do that. We try to make, it easy. Get the points.
Yeah.
That's like
for the honeymoon.
The ultimate. I'm always a big cash back or get your points for the honeymoon. Yes.
That makes things a lot easier because I feel like that is something that I feel like people are always complaining about is like complicated payment schedules and then there's an add-on for this and add-on for that.
Yeah.
Are there add-ons for video and what would they be?
Yeah. So, I mean, if sometimes when you are booking a year in advance, you don't quite know exactly what the day's going to look like. Mm-hmm. And when you get closer, it might come down to like hours, more time is usually the case when add-ons. I mean, we do more different films that people can add on. Sometimes you just don't know what you don't know yet. But ours tends to be something leading up to the wedding. People will add on just because you didn't realize that, we're going to have to start photos at 2 when we kind of talked about it and it was going to be 4. So now you need a few more hours, things like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Do you charge for additional like edits? Like if a couple wants like more cut downs or a longer version or something?
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of our packages are very comprehensive. We give you a little bit of everything, really just kind of hits a lot of different points for people. But we do longer edits, which tends to be our go-to add-on.
What's a longer edit?
Like what we call them a feature film. So like a 15-minute, so like where we stop at like the highlight edit being about 5 minutes, we do a 15, a 25 or a 35-minute edit. Think of them as like your wedding album. Mm-hmm. You come back a year later and you do a beautiful wedding album. That's kind of what the feature is, where we're able to extend on moments that we just highlighted in the trailer. We're really able to like tell different story arcs and get more audio in there. And it's beautiful. A lot of our couples come back the year or around the holidays and we'll do a feature.
So they'll add it on after the fact?
Yes. Oh yeah. So we hold on to footage for 2 years after. Again, it's sometimes you want to absorb everything, see what you got. And then if you want more, I mean, as long as we've got it in the can from the day, we can cut whatever, we do extra social edits. If a couple had a really funny speech or great speeches and they want a little short, like social cut, we can totally do that after. So there's opportunities to do more. I mean, got all this great footage,
That's so interesting. 2 years.
Yes.
So, do you warn them, hey, you're coming up on your 2 years?
We do. They get a few warnings along the way just to make sure that they know.
Do they ever ask to, get all the footage? Is that something that someone would ask for, on a hard drive or something?
We do it in a lot of our packages already included.
Oh, okay.
Somewhere along the way.
So that's a normal ask to be can I get all the footage on a hard drive?
Yep. Yeah. And we kind of, along the way in surveys, couples were always sort of, prompted to be and with video, make sure you get all your raw. And we've kind of come to we're going to make all these great edits for you. And then we're just going to give you the raw. Just take it that way. You have every last piece.
And what do you deliver on a hard drive?
Hard drive or digital. They can do a transfer onto their cloud of storage. Yeah.
What are some of the biggest regrets that you hear from couples after the fact, right? Because they're looking at their video and they get an opportunity to see the full wedding day. Do you hear any feedback from them? Not about the video, but about the wedding day.
About the wedding day? It's more about personality maybe than anything. We don't get a lot of that, which is great, which means that they love, or we didn't hear about something, but it's usually personality. Oh, this groomsman was drunk. Could he please make sure he is not in the edit? God, it went off the rails. Things like that are kind of what we hear that a couple might sort of regret. Someone, got a little drunk. Oh, the dance floor at the end of the night, things like that.
Got a little sloppy. I don't want the groom taking off his shirt in the final edit.
Right. Yeah. No one was wearing clothes at the end. Could you not put that in there? Yeah.
Oh my God. That's hysterical. I imagine y'all capture sometimes controversial stuff.
Yeah, well,
over the 13 years and the thousands of weddings you've shot.
Yes. Well,
are there any juicy stories?
Yeah. We always do. We always try to capture the most beautiful, right? At the end of the day, they're always going to be, you guys are going to be great. If it's been a shit show day, no one will ever know, because it'll be beautiful when you share it with your friends and family. There's been fights. There's been delays.
Any meltdowns?
Sure. Yes. Yes. There's been a bit of that. Make sure if you are an anxious person and you're not taking too much, don't drink too much beforehand. Regulate yourself as much as possible because,
Do you see more of the groomsmen or the bridesmaids having too much to drink?
Well, I feel like the groomsmen at the beginning of the day, they're the ones to worry about, right? Like, there's the ones that are like, they're dressed. They've been dressed for hours. They're having a drink.
Getting ready for them is like really fast.
It's really fast. I mean, and at this point, photography and video sort of like slows them down.
Yeah.
They're dressed and ready to go. So you really worry about them pre-ceremony. And I'm sure everyone's like a little tense on it. And then you got to worry about the bridesmaids on the flip side, because now the speeches are done. Like everything that they were meant to be there, they've done. The reception just gets like, let's party. And you got to worry about the girls on the flip side.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Have you had any situations with the parents of the bride or grooms?
In terms of the night, I mean, I think they're also having a good time. We've had some like incidences, like ambulances have been called, and gosh. You're like, kind of crazy, but nothing really. I mean, I guess going through a plate glass window is sort of a rough one.
Oh my gosh.
Probably a big one. That's probably our biggest.
Was that the mother or the father?
That was the father.
Oh my gosh.
That was the father. He must have had a really good time.
So one of the worst things I experienced at a wedding was my stepbrother at his wedding. And there was no video to capture it.
Okay.
But he was getting ready at my parents' house, and he is walking down the stairs in his tuxedo to get ready to go to the wedding venue, and trips, falls, stumbles down the stairs, dislocates his shoulder.
No.
And an ambulance has to come to take him, and they have to like replace it, like, put it back into place. Yeah. And meanwhile, my sister-in-law has no idea what's going on. She's getting ready, whatever.
Oh, no.
And I think they had to give him like painkillers because it was really painful to like put. So he was kind of doped up during his ceremony, just like glossy eyes. He felt great. He was fine. He was fine. But I was like, oh my gosh, if he would have had video at that time, that would have been epic. That would have just been an epic tumble. Sorry, Rick, but calling you out. But I remember we were like, are we canceling what are we doing?
Happens?
Like, what do you do
now?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, that's a bad one.
And he wasn't even drinking at that point. I think he was walking
stone sober. Poor guy.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Turned out to be fine. And the photos were great. No one knew, but when he was dancing, he was definitely like
a little stiff.
Yeah.
Oh man, everything was wearing off, I'm sure.
Yeah. It was pretty wild.
Gosh, there must have been some nerves.
Yeah. Family dynamics are always an interesting thing.
Yes.
I'm curious, are you mostly having the couple reach out to book you, or do you ever have like the parents kind of coming in? And what's that dynamic?
Yeah. So both. A lot of parents more these days, which I feel like is sort of something that's like happening where
the parents want the video. Like they really want to see it.
The parents want the video. The parents are, I think we're coming back to the idea of like the parents are helping with the payment, where I feel like it was a very millennial thing to be like, oh no, we're, I'm paying for this ourselves. This is us paying for it. Where parents are now involved, they're paying for a lot of it. I feel like you kind of know that, and you kind of know, it's their baby, their kids, and you chat with them a little differently and making sure that, what do you remember? Do you want the 1990s wedding film? Are you interested in what we've done?
There are different styles of film for your wedding day, right? There's more like the documentary. Could you say like cinematic?
Yep.
What are the different styles? And can you like tell me what they mean?
Yeah. I think, they kind of kind of cross over a little bit. I think we tend to go for a more cinematic approach where it's less like handheld and like shaky in the sense of like documentary. If you think about a documentary where you're running with the couple, or you're kind of you're seeing that camera movement and you're experiencing like what the camera is experiencing, where cinematography or cinematic style is much more like fluid and, a little bit, everything's sort of smooth and transitions are smooth. And that's what we tend to lean towards, is a more smooth retaking, more like movie making, where documentary, you think like, in this, you're out there on the ground sort of doing things. So those are like the two main ones. I mean, of course, we're documenting the day and getting all those details, but I think it's more about the camera movement. There's Super 8 out there that gives...
I was going to ask you about Super 8 because I remember it being really popular 10 years ago in that whole vintage
It had
movement.
a moment, yeah.
And now I feel like it's coming back again.
It has like a little bit more of that nostalgic feel. Mm-hmm. Personally, we don't do Super 8.
Is it actual film?
Well... There's an actual camera and film, that would create the authentic Super 8. I think nowadays, I'm sure that there's like cameras that do it digitally and you can do it in post and do a filter. Yeah. So there is, again, that's where a couple would decide, like, at the end of the day, what is your style? So
you would describe Super 8 as kind of that more like grainy, like, is it more like jittery too?
Grainy, a little more amateur maybe. Thinking of like a real home video from like the 40s and 50s.
Got it.
And thinking of it that way, where it's a little bit more pieced together or, not so, a little less perfect maybe. A little bit more home video feel. Yeah.
Do you know what I've seen recently, which makes me laugh, is that like the 80s, 90s camcorders, which was like that really like... I'm like, the quality is so bad. It's like not even cool, but now it's cool. Like people are like trying to recreate that look.
Yeah.
And they're buying these little handheld camcorders.
I know. Everyone's got the little Sony, a quick shot. What do they call them? Like what I was, like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's doing, yes. That's actually really fun. I guess maybe I'm nostalgic for the 80s and 90s again, but.
So would you guys offer that as like a backup service, or is that something that like someone DIYs, like their uncle records it or their cousin or something?
I think, I mean, if you got the camcorder, you can definitely do it and you got it. For us, we really try to be timeless in the sense of like giving you that beautiful, clean, representation of the day. And we want it to be timeless, but really the difference is like you are different. Each couple is different and not put too much filters and things that just might date them.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that was very 2019 or 2025.
Right. Exactly. So like can't pinpoint the date.
Are there any other trends that you've seen in video that feel like dated that you can pinpoint, whether it's like an editing style?
Ooh, sometimes when like they do like vignettes of like blackened corners, that's kind of like a, interesting, maybe like a soft filter is kind of old and dated. Again, it's a creative process. So there's a style for everybody. I don't think those will come back, but you never know. You never know.
The Super 8 like came back super hard.
It really did. And it's so fun. It's so fun. But you really have to be for your wedding that you're putting all this in. You really have to love it enough to be like, this is how I'm going to have to remember it in 10, 15 years.
Yeah. Maybe with like a little bit of that filter and that like, it's like got like a little bit of like a sepia.
Sepia. Yeah, totally. Yeah. You got it. Yeah. It's like a little grainy.
I think my sister's wedding film was Super 8 and I don't think it had sound, or it was like, it had some sound, but not that much.
Maybe like a song or just
no,
Super 8?
like recording speeches and that kind of thing. It was more just like a vibe of the day.
Yeah. That makes sense. It probably maybe was like on a real Super 8 camera too.
I asked you about DIY. Do you have any opinion or advice for someone who's thinking about, oh, I don't have the budget for video, we're going to DIY it? What's your POV on that? I'm sure you're not a huge fan of it, but
you know what? I give them a lot of credit. I think in the beginning, you are really, I think you got to be type A.
Yeah.
You can't procrastinate on it. There's Pinterest is just the world. You feel like you can touch anything. Amazon, you can get anything, but you got to do it. And there's nothing worse than, weeks before when all those payments are due, because now you have 1,000 payment schedule that now you're trying to craft something. It's not for the faint of heart. I think ultimately, I just think it takes a lot of stress. It makes the planning process stressful.
Yeah. We talk to a lot of brides, and it's funny because depending on where they are in the planning journey, like they just started it, or we talk to them after they've planned the wedding and they're looking back at it. And like on the podcast, we'll talk about it. And some of them are like, these are all the things I'm DIYing. And then like later afterwards, I'm like, so what did you actually end up doing? And they're like, I did like a third of them. Like that was insane that I thought I could do all those things.
Agreed. I think that's the thing. It's like you have all the ideas and you feel like you can do it. Like you've seen it at Michael's or like you can get that on Amazon, and it's just time and energy. And you realize that
you're maybe not even saving money
you're probably not.
Yeah. You're probably losing money.
I've been a bridesmaid and, making stuff and you're like, what are we doing here? Yeah. Like, I don't want to do this, There's got to be someone out there that can do this for you.
That's better. Yeah. I think the whole idea of DIY, one is people think, oh, it's a creative process. It'll be fun, right? Something is fun when you have to do it like 5 times or 10 times. Yeah. When you have to do it 225 times, not so much.
No.
And I think the other thing with DIY is people think they're going to save money.
Yeah.
And it's not really a money saver if you value your time.
Yes. And your partner's time.
Yeah.
Like, because you're going to want support. Yeah. You're not going to want to be sitting in your apartment.
Yeah. Even for our engagement party, stuffing the envelopes took a long time.
Yes.
And like putting the stamps on it and like it took us like 3 hours to stuff, which maybe that's not that long, but I felt like it took a long time.
It feels like a heavy lift for something that should.
And that was just stuffing the envelope.
Right,
that was not that hard.
That's how I feel the same way. I feel like it's all in good. You feel compelled because it's your event, but then like execution is just like, oh, I'm going to make those cake. I mean, we've made cake pops before and like you think it's easy, or like, oh, you have great handwriting. Could you write these? And you're like, I no longer have great handwriting because my hand is broken. Like,
it was
things
good
like
the
that.
First 5, the first 10.
Yeah, they were the first 5 people were spot on. Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a lot. And the pressure, there's a lot of pressure out there to do these things and feel like maybe doing them on your own will save that money that, you don't want to be, doing too much, but just get the person to do it or find, a compromise in your design that someone can help you with.
I do think TikTok and Instagram have really like fueled the flames of the DIY movement.
Yes.
But it's only showing the first like 2 or 3 of hundreds.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a scam.
It's such a scam. It's such a scam. You never know who's on the other end, how many times this girl's got to do these and how many really soar. It's for every person that's put like the recipe and saved it in Instagram that you're never coming back. Like,
which I always do. I have like 1,000 recipes saved.
Thousands. But like you have to do it. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot. Yeah.
Switching gears here for a moment. One of the biggest complaints that I hear from couples is services are more expensive because I told them it was a wedding. You do corporate.
Yeah.
Do you can you explain the difference of, is there a difference of what goes into a wedding day versus a corporate event versus a birthday party?
Yeah.
And why there's a pricing difference, if any?
It's very, I think it's a very small difference because at this point, like our service is a little different. In a wedding, I think, when a ceremony, it's your one time. It's the one time you're going to do it, right? Like, and if we don't get it right the first time, there's no stopping and going back. And I think there's a value that gets added when it's like it's a milestone in your life. So I do think for a human service to go and do something that's so important, we want to get it right. And I think there's a value or a price that could be put to that. And that's just because we know how important it is.
The stakes are higher.
The stakes are high. Yeah, exactly.
Stakes are higher. Expectations are higher. And I mean, like, I threw my daughter's first birthday and I mean, it was so cute.
Sure.
I was like looking everywhere for a photographer because I was like, I really wanted to have it captured, because what I do. Couldn't find a photographer to do it. We live in the woods. But I couldn't find someone local to do it. And at the end of the day, I was like, okay, whatever. We'll just take photos on our phone, etc. But like, I would never have been like, oh, it's fine. for an engagement party or a wedding, right? Because it's like,
right.
The stakes are really high. Of course I would keep calling and digging to find, the photo or the video or whatever it is. And it's like with that added pressure comes like added cost, I think.
It does. Cause it means so much. It's a milestone in your life. And you're hiring people to get the milestone. Cause you don't plan on going back to that milestone, So yeah, there's going to be, it's just, I think we all put that pressure, you pressure to do a good job, making sure you're getting it because you know that this person's having this milestone and having this once in a lifetime experience where corporate birthdays, a little different, we're doing a presentation. It's not the same as your wedding vows, So yeah, there's a little difference.
2025, yes. We're in the thick of wedding season.
Yes.
Is there anything that you're really excited about from just general trends that like you're excited to capture and see more of?
Yes. I feel like I'm loving the on our brides, like the convertible dresses, like I know, multiple changes is definitely a thing. I love when a girl has like able to like take it off the train
or the skirt.
Oh, the skirt or put the gloves on. Like I love a great accessory. And I think those are coming back or being a little bit like everything is being sort of dismantled. Like anything is up for grabs in terms of like making it your own. So I love, the outfit changes are really, really enjoyable. I love, draping is becoming a huge
I've seen
aspect.
A lot of that.
A lot of ceiling draping, a lot of draping for ceremonies. I think it's gorgeous. I'm really excited to see more. I mean, I've seen fringe. The florals on the ceilings are always great, but now we've got like the fringe and the drape. Obsessed. So I'm excited to see more of that. Really funky, beautiful cakes. The cakes have really had like a moment.
Oh, I've been seeing these like really long, very asymmetrical, kind of funky frosting.
Funky, yeah. And I'm loving it. I feel like the cake cutting has sort of seen a decline in incorporating. But I do kind of feel like it's coming back. Maybe it just sort of took a little bit of a break. I think people are looking for experiences. I think our couples in the moments are going back to some of the traditions that we sort of took a break on for the last 10 years and coming back to them and being like, no, these are great, maybe nostalgia of bringing these experiences for our guests back in. So like I think the bouquet toss will sort of maybe make a comeback.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I feel like
that's controversial.
I feel like maybe it is controversial, but I maybe not like the boot, the garter.
Yeah.
But maybe just like,
by the way, that gets like a lot of comments when we talk about the garter top. Yes. People get like angry about it. Like, that's not a thing. Or like, let her throw her garter. Like people get really triggered by it.
People get triggered and people get wild. And that's probably one of those like,
did we need to do that?
Did we need to do that moments? But I think a bouquet toss, just experiential is sort of, having a moment. And I think bringing back some of those traditional, wedding traditions, might find a way back, having that cake cutting that you do, just because it's a moment. It's a great Instagrammable moment. It's a great moment to say wedding. So I don't know. I feel like those will sort of have a come back again.
This has been the Loverly Wedding Podcast. We are hosted by Kelly Khalil, produced by Natasha Barkman, Shaylin Carroll, Kayla Fitzgerald, and Jennifer Alvarado. Watch the podcast on YouTube by subscribing to our channel, and you can follow and listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, and every major RSS feed.